Wow. The splashdown of those NASA astronauts, Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore, really something, huh? After that long stay on the ISS, seemed like it was everywhere, all over the news, and everyone was talking about it.
Yeah, yeah, it was hard to miss.
Definitely hard to miss, yeah. And today, we're going to, sort of like dive deep into that.
Absolutely.
You shared some, really interesting articles with me. And it's like we're going to cut through all the hype, all the noise, and really get to what matters here.
Yeah.
So first off, we have this mission to the ISS. These astronauts, they're up there, doing all this really cool science stuff, right?
Yeah.
Experiments, maintenance, microgravity research, all that. But then there's this big delay, right? Like they're up there longer than they planned.
Yeah, the sources that you sent, they paint a pretty, really interesting picture of what it was like for them to be up there. And yeah, to your point, the delay really became the big story. I mean, this wasn't just a quick trip, up and back. It was much longer.
Yeah, it was really extended, and that of course like made everyone wonder, like, okay, what's going on? What happened?
Right, right. Why are they still up there? So like the first thing to understand is that the delay was not due to any problems with their ride home, the SpaceX Dragon capsule.
Oh, okay. So their actual spacecraft was fine.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
fine. The main thing that messed up the schedule was the Boeing Starliner.
Ah, okay. The Starliner.
Yeah, it ran into some technical issues when it was trying to, to get to the ISS, to dock.
So it's like a domino effect, right? Like
Yeah.
one spacecraft has a problem, and then it throws everything else off.
Exactly, yeah. It created a bit of a bottleneck.
I see.
You only have so many spots to park up there at the ISS and only so many time slots for these visiting spacecraft to come and go.
Right, right. It's not like there's like tons of parking spaces up there, right?
No. So because of the Starliner's issues, the Dragon, which was, all set to bring Sunita and Butch back, had to stay hooked to the station longer. It really shows you how much planning, goes into keeping the ISS running smoothly. It's incredibly complicated.
Oh, absolutely. But hey,
Yeah.
maybe this is like looking for that silver lining, but they did get to do more science, right?
Yeah.
Because they were up there longer.
Yeah, that's a really good point. While nobody wanted this delay, it did give the astronauts a chance to do even more research.
I see.
So in a way, it's kind of interesting, right? Like sometimes these unexpected events lead to new discoveries.
Yeah, totally, totally. It definitely, sparked a lot of conversation, not just about this specific mission, but like in general about how reliable space travel is and just the complexities of managing all these different missions at the ISS.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're dealing with, some seriously tricky stuff, orbital mechanics, super complicated technology, international cooperation.
Yeah, it's a whole other level, than just booking a flight on Expedia or whatever.
It's a lot more complicated than that, yeah.
So let's dig a little deeper into these Starliner technical glitches.
Okay.
The articles, they mentioned them, but they didn't really get into the nitty-gritty details.
Right.
So what kind of things could go wrong, when a spacecraft is trying to dock with the ISS? Like, what are we talking about here?
Well, while we don't have all the specifics, we can make some educated guesses, right? I mean, these technical issues, they were probably malfunctions in like super critical systems, the systems you need for a safe docking.
Makes sense.
Like, think about it. You could have sensor failures, messing up the navigation,
That's right.
or software problems. Those can throw off the automated docking sequence.
Right.
Even something seemingly small, like a hiccup with the propulsion system, that can cause problems.
Wow. So even tiny things can have a huge impact.
Yeah, absolutely. Because in space, there's no room for error. Even small glitches can cause big delays and safety risks.
And this whole idea of space congestion, it's kind of blowing my mind a little bit. Like, it's basically rush hour traffic, but in orbit.
Yeah, it's a great analogy. And like rush hour, you need some serious traffic management.
So are there like rules for managing this orbital traffic? Or is it more like, they're figuring it out as they go along?
Well, there are definitely protocols in place. They plan these ISS visits super carefully, taking into account the orbits, the capabilities of the spacecraft, what the mission is all about.
Right.
But the thing is, space is unpredictable. Like, you can plan all you want, but then something like the Starliner situation happens and it throws a wrench in the works.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So they're always working on better ways to manage this traffic, things like better tracking systems, improved communication, maybe even some automated systems to prevent collisions.
Oh, wow. like self-driving cars, but for spacecraft.
Exactly, yeah. And this whole incident with the Starliner, it's going to provide a ton of data that they can use to make those future systems even better.
That's really interesting. So, obviously safety was the top priority here, right? I mean, we're talking about people's lives.
Of course, always.
Um, and it seemed like NASA and SpaceX, they were both really careful. They took their time, made sure everything was checked and double-checked before bringing the Dragon back.
Yeah, no rushing, no cutting corners. That's the golden rule in human spaceflight. Every single decision, every maneuver has to be weighed against the risks. And the fact that they were willing to delay the return just to make sure everything was 100%. That tells you everything you need to know about their commitment to safety.
Yeah, totally. It's a good reminder that in space, sometimes slow and steady wins the race.
Exactly.
So once they finally got the all clear, the Dragon, it started its journey home. What did that look like? Can you take us through, the main stages of that return trip?
All right, so first up, you've got the undocking. The Dragon capsule detaches from the ISS.
Right. Yeah.
That's step one.
They're on their way.
Exactly, like leaving the harbor.
Okay.
Then comes the deorbit burn. They fire the engines, slow the capsule down, and that's what lets gravity pull it back towards Earth.
Ow.
And this burn, it has to be super precise. If it's even a little bit off, the capsule could end up in the wrong place.
Wow. That sounds nerve-wracking.
It is. Then comes atmospheric reentry. This is when things get really intense.
Oh.
The capsule slams into the atmosphere super fast, generating a ton of friction and heat.
Yeah, you see those incredible pictures, right, where the spacecraft is glowing.
Exactly. That's from the heat. That's why they have that heat shield, to protect the astronauts inside.
Makes sense.
So they're going from crazy heat to the next phase, which is parachute deployment.
Okay.
So as they get lower, they deploy a series of parachutes. These slow the capsule down so they can splash down in the ocean safely.
So from fire to a gentle float down.
Pretty much, yeah. And the final step is the splashdown itself. They land in a specific spot in the ocean where a SpaceX recovery vessel is waiting to pick them up.
Oh, amazing. It's really incredible when you think about it. All those steps, all that technology, all working perfectly together.
It's a marvel of engineering for sure.
No wonder. No wonder people were so glued to the news, watching this all unfold. The articles, they talk about this huge public and media interest. Why do you think people were so captivated by this mission?
I think a lot of it comes down to the human element. People were worried about the astronauts. They were up there longer than expected, and space is dangerous.
Yeah, you feel for them.
So there's that concern. But then you also have this fascination with the technology, this incredible feat of engineering, getting people safely to and from space.
It's like, almost like watching a magic trick, but it's real.
It's amazing, isn't it? And then, of course, you have the personal stories. People want to know what it was like for Sunita and Butch to live in space.
To be in that unique environment.
Right. And what it feels like to come back home after that experience. It reminds us that, behind all the technology and the science, there are real people, pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Absolutely, absolutely. And these astronauts, they're not rookies, right? Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore, they've both been to space before.
Oh, yeah. Sunita, she's a veteran astronaut.
A veteran.
Multiple space flights under her belt. She's dedicated her career to space exploration and research. And Butch Wilmore, he's also a seasoned astronaut. He's worked on the ISS and even flown on the space shuttle. They're both incredibly skilled and experienced.
Wow. And they must have, amazing mental strength too, right?
Yeah.
To be able to handle not just the work, but the isolation, being away from home for so long.
Definitely. And, this mission with the unexpected delay, it really tested their resilience, their professionalism, and they handled it with grace and competence. It's a testament to their training and their dedication.
Absolutely. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about SpaceX. They played a huge role in this mission, right? From beginning to end.
Oh, yeah. They were there every step of the way, from launch to splashdown and recovery.
From start to finish.
Exactly. And the fact that the Dragon performed flawlessly, that's a big win for SpaceX.
Yeah.
It shows that they're a reliable partner for NASA when it comes to human spaceflight. And it's also a sign of how much the space industry is changing, right? You've got private companies like SpaceX playing a much bigger role.
Yeah, it's not just NASA anymore.
Exactly. And this mission, even with the hiccups, it shows that this partnership between government and private companies, it can work. It can work really well.
That's fascinating. So zooming out a little bit, this mission wasn't just about bringing two astronauts home. It's part of something much bigger, right? It's about advancing human space exploration as a whole.
Absolutely. Every time we send humans into space, we learn something new. The science experiments, the challenges they overcome, the experiences they have, it all feeds into future missions.
Makes sense.
Whether it's future trips to the ISS or going back to the moon with the Artemis program or even that big dream of going to Mars one day.
Yeah, yeah.
This mission, it's a stepping stone. It helps us get closer to those goals.
So I'm curious, for our listeners, what are the big takeaways here? Like, what should they remember about this whole experience with Sunita and Butch and the delays and everything?
Well, I think first it's a reminder that space is hard. We've come a long way, but it's still a dangerous and unpredictable environment.
Yeah, we can't take it for granted.
No. Second, safety has to be the top priority, always. And that's
Okay.
exactly what we saw here.
No compromises.
Exactly. Third, international cooperation is key. The ISS is a perfect example of that. It takes countries and companies working together to make this stuff happen.
Yeah, it's a global effort.
It is. And finally, even with the challenges, the future of space exploration is bright.
I like that.
We're still pushing the boundaries, we're still learning, and we're still reaching for the stars.
Absolutely. So in the end, Sunita and Butch coming home safe, it's a huge achievement. It shows what we can do when we work together and put our minds to something.
Couldn't agree more.
It's been great talking about this with you, really insightful.
Likewise.
And to our listeners, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a question. With more and more people going into space, more companies, more countries involved, how do we make sure we're doing it sustainably? How do we keep everyone safe? It's something to ponder, for sure. And until next time, thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.
See you next time.
See you later.